bonjour tout le monde. I'm Mayor Bernadette. Welcome to episode 5 of Street Level. We're going to do some really interesting things in this episode. We're going to take you right into the compost pile at the landfill. We're going to talk about winter parking, snow removal, and Dr. Brian from the River Institute is going to talk to us about salmon right here in Cornwall at the Eco Rotary Pond. Welcome, bienvenue, enjoy.
My name is Emma Meldrum. I'm the City of Cornwall's Public Information Coordinator, and I'm in Lamoureux Park this morning with Dr. Brian Hickey. He is a research scientist and an educator with the River Institute, and he's here to talk to us this morning about something pretty interesting that happens in late October.
So we're here in Lamoureux Park at Rotary Creek, part of the Rotary Eco Garden, to look at one of what I think is one of the coolest natural spectacles in the area, the small run of Chinook salmon we have here in the creek every October. Yeah, so the salmon, Chinook salmon were introduced. They're actually a West Coast species. They live to about 5 to 9 years in the St. Lawrence River, and when it's time to spawn, they migrate up into smaller creeks and streams like this one, and that's the end of their life cycle. They spawn and then they die, and the young grow up into the creek. They'll hatch in the spring, they'll hatch next spring, and they'll grow up and eventually move out into the river where they spend the rest of their lives maturing. If you're 20 years old or so, when you were born, this was a mowed lawn, just like the rest of Lamoureux Park, and we built this creek to connect up some of the old canal, which enters the river in this direction through a drop of 10 or 20 meters. And so we took some of the flow and we connected up to the shore with a more gentle slope so that fish can access this habitat. And it's been a great success. Chinook salmon spawn here. There's a whole bunch of other cool fish like the rare cutlet minnow, which I'll maybe talk about in another episode. And yeah, so it's definitely one of the coolest projects I've been affiliated with.
And so if a resident comes down here, they see the salmon spawning, what should they do when they see them? Should they be helping them up the creek?
Yeah, that's a great question, Emma. So, you can get fairly close, you can observe them, but leave them alone. They will make their way up through each set of rapids here. They'll sometimes stop and rest, or they'll display to find and attract mates, or they'll engage in spawning behavior, but they'll get up there on their own. So just have a good look, enjoy the spectacle, but stay out of the water when they're spawning.
Is there lots of time to see the spawning happen?
No, it's a fairly quick run. So when you start hearing reports of salmon in the creek, they'll gradually build up to a peak, and then that peak where you can see 10 or a dozen or more at one time, that only lasts a couple of days. So yeah, if it's something you want to see, don't say, oh, yeah, I'll try next week, because they'll be gone. So if you'd like to know more about the creek or about the biology and the organisms living in the creek, you can certainly contact me or one of my colleagues at the River Institute, or check out our website or social media. Thanks everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed this, hope you learned something, hope you come down to Rotary Creek sometime.
Hi, I'm Bernadette Clément, Mayor of Cornwall, and I'm here with Dave Kewen, Acting Waste Management Supervisor. So Dave, how long have you been with the City of Cornwall?
I've been with the city, started June 2009 at the water plant.
Okay, so we're very fortunate here because we're going to talk about a new idea, which you're spearheading.
For sure.
Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, so we are starting this new initiative. We are dubbing it the Free Store Depot here at the landfill, City of Cornwall's landfill. Essentially what the Free Store Depot is you can come in with your regular garbage, and if you have anything that may not be ready for the garbage, that may be usable or have some life left in it, there will be a designated storage container, our Free Store Depot, where you can drop that off. And what we will be doing is we will be looking to reach out to families who are in need and have them ultimately use this furniture, these items, these household items.
Okay, so what gave you this idea of the free store? Like, why?
So we see so much stuff that comes over the scale house here that goes directly to the garbage. We see families cleaning out their grandparents' house after they're moving into a home or if they've passed on. And they take the whole house, all of the furniture, all of the garage lawn equipment, all of the plates, all of the beds, the chairs, the couches. Everything comes here and just simply gets discarded into the landfill where it's buried. We'd like to stop that. We see these items coming in, clearly usable, great shape. People would be happy to have them, and we think it's a great opportunity to identify them as they come over the scale and to offer them to a family in need right on site here.
Wow, okay, so how would that work? So somebody would arrive with stuff, and how would it work with the attendant or?
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you come over the scale, simply the scale house attendant, we're looking to see what kind of waste, what the composition of your waste is anyway as you're coming over. And often we see stuff right on the top that's clearly still usable. And now we're asking people when they come over, is that usable? Would you like to donate that to our Free Store Depot to a potential family in need?
So you're having the conversation with people as they're there?
Yes, and we're hoping that this conversation doesn't end at the scale house, that this conversation continues and grows and ultimately grows the program. This container is our ceremonial shovel in the ground to kick off the program, and we hope that it only grows. This is the beginning. We have nowhere to go but to grow it. So.
Yeah, no, I like the passion behind the idea too. Talk about the container. So
Sure.
Where would this be and what is it exactly?
So right now, the Free Store Depot is a sea container.
A
sea container, like
Okay.
a sea storage container, like you'd see at the shipping yards in Montreal or on the trains going by.
Or like at Art Walk in
Or at
downtown
our-
Cornwall, we know something about sea cans.
We know a little something about sea cans in Cornwall. Essentially, it's just a big sea can with 4 doors, roll-up doors on it. And this is the first step. So if we fill this and if we're looking for more room, we will continue to add sea containers. But when you come over the scale, you'll be directed. It's right beside the scales on the part of the public drop-off pad. So it makes it as easy as possible for residents coming in. You can put your reusable items in the Free Store Depot and then sort your waste into the material-specific bins on the pad as you regularly would.
Okay. And we always like partnerships and collaborations in the city.
do.
So how would that work? Could agencies help out with this?
Yes, so our initial thinking, we don't have any partnerships yet, but we are hoping to partner with Red Cross for fire victims to help families get back on their feet. We can offer them a lot of their household items here for free of charge, and it's immediately available. We will be reaching out to the Agapes, the Salvation Armies, but if there's any other not-for-profits in the City of Cornwall that do want to get involved with us, feel free to give us a call or an email. You can call us at 613-937-1777 or send us an email at wm@cornwall.ca, and we'll be more than happy to tell you how to get involved.
Okay, sounds good. Are we ready to go with that?
I think so, yeah, we're ready. We're ready.
I really like the idea. I think it's terrific. So stay tuned. Check out the website, the phone number that Dave just gave. And this is all about diverting from our landfill, but also reusing and making sure that people can use some very good stuff that can make its way into a new home. So thank you very much, Dave.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Take care.
Welcome to this edition of Street Level. I'm Councillor Justin Townder. With me is the Fire Chief, Jeff Weber. And first of all, Chief, let me say congratulations to you on taking over this role in our community.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
So today we're going to talk about something very important, and that's carbon monoxide, specifically carbon monoxide detectors. So Chief, let's get started. Why is it so important to have a carbon monoxide detector in your house?
Well, carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless gas. Can't smell it, you can't see it. Unlike smoke, you can. So it's important because we have devices in our homes that can produce carbon monoxide. Our stoves, if you have a gas stove, anything that burns a fuel, wood stove, gas furnace, gas water heater. And unfortunately, those things do produce carbon monoxide that can infiltrate our home, and the gas is deadly. So we want to make sure that we have a working carbon monoxide alarm in our home to ensure that it can be detected.
Absolutely. And you touched on the consequences. You have some familiarity with what can happen in the event of carbon monoxide poisoning. Would you care to share that with us today?
Certainly. I lived in the community where the entire family, which was kind of the auspices or the beginning of the legislation surrounding carbon monoxide and the changes to the Fire Protection Prevention Act to deal with that. And that's, it's a pivotal point. An entire family wiped out just because their alarm wasn't working anymore. So it's incredibly important to ensure that that carbon monoxide alarm is in place, is operating and is working properly. And not only that, but it's important for us to make sure that our devices, our things that are burning fuel, our furnace, our hot water heater, are checked on an annual basis to make sure that they're operating properly.
Roger that. And so something you touched on there, the annual inspection of appliances. I'm a little guilty right now. I haven't had my furnace inspected. You kind of touched on it. Could you elaborate that on a bit more? Like, why is it so important that we do it, and why at this time of year? Why do we look at it now in the fall?
Absolutely. So here we are, it's fall. Days are getting cooler, nights are getting colder, and of course we're starting to count on our heating devices, our furnaces, maybe a gas fireplace, and certainly we always count on our water heaters, but typically in the summer our homes are a little more open. Right now we're closing them down, closing the windows, and that keeps the carbon monoxide inside our buildings and allows it to build up inside of us as well. So that's why it's ultimately important that we ensure that those devices are working properly, that they're vented properly, that a bird hasn't built a nest in your chimney over the winter, or that the vents outside aren't plugged by, I don't know, a kid, squirrel, or something like that, building a nest or shoving something in your vents. Because where can those fumes go then is in your home. So if you get those cleaned out, and it's ultimately important as we start to see the snow fly as well, to make sure those vents are clear all winter long, that we go around our house and make sure that our furnace vents and the vents that come off of all of those devices are kept clean. Those devices also have a shelf life or a time period, a lifespan. So just like your car, they get old. They have to be replaced at a certain amount of time. Now, usually it's about 10 years, but there's a hint on those devices. There's a date. So make sure that your device is in compliance within the date that it was intended to be used. And if it's not, replace it. Go and buy a new one.
Great. Thank you so much, Chief, for your time today. Thank you for sharing this important message with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
So Dave, we're at the landfill, but the place that people think about when they think of the landfill is over there where all the garbage is, and we're in the compost pile. Can you describe what this is all about?
So where we are right now is where the magic happens for the leaf and yard waste that is collected or dropped off by the City of Cornwall residents here at the city's landfill site. All of your yard waste, all of your leaves, your grass trimmings, your plants from your gardens, everything that is collected or dropped off here gets stored in the windrows here and is mechanically turned a couple of times a month by our contractor. Through this process, it turns into a rich composted soil, which is packed with nutrients. Excellent for any garden flower beds, excellent to apply this material in the spring or the fall, and it really helps your vegetables, your flowers, and your plants around your house.
I can vouch for that personally. I put some in my vegetable garden this year and it did well, and I'm going to say that that was because of City of Cornwall compost. I love that it's free. I also love that we can see in the piles some of the stuff that really shouldn't be in the compost. So you see the paper bags,
Yeah.
but you also see plastic bags. Can you talk a bit about the types of things that we don't want to see in people's leaf and yard waste?
That's really one of the challenges when we're doing this, offering this kind of service in this program is once it's contained in a bag, we can't see any contaminants that are in it. So we're really trusting the residents of Cornwall here to properly sort their organic and their leaf and yard waste before they send it to us. If they don't, the problem is that we get all kinds, and you can see there's plastics in here, all kinds of stuff that's not supposed to be in here. Now this will get screened out by the contractor and will ultimately look like this pile behind us here, which is ready for use, ready to be applied. But it is definitely a challenge to get rid of all of those contaminants.
So leaf and yard waste is an example of a diversion program, and the city offers a bunch of different diversion programs for residents, and they're going to be more and more important as we reduce the number of garbage bags that residents can set out every week.
Definitely. So we are very proud of the diversion programs that we currently offer, and we're always looking at new ways to divert more materials and to increase the tonnage and the amount of materials that we are currently diverting. The obvious diversion programs that everybody participates in is recycling. That's a huge success story. We also have our clean wood pile, where clean wood, so anything without paint, varnish, it can have nails in it, so we're talking pallets, building material, 2x4s, anything like that. We do take that material and we offer it to our residents free of charge for any wood that does come in that is usable still, to build a little backyard garden or a little fort for the kids or anything like that. We strongly encourage residents to come and take that. Yeah, we also have the City of Cornwall's Household Hazardous Waste Depot, where the residents of the City of Cornwall are encouraged to bring their paints, electronics, gasoline, oils, any kind of hazardous chemical that can't be disposed of in the city's landfill site. You can bring it to the Household Hazardous Waste Depot, and it doesn't cost our City of Cornwall residents anything for that service.
So as we're kind of moving towards these bag limits, one thing I'd like people to keep in mind is that we're going to be responsible in managing our resources in our landfill and our facilities, and we're asking them to be responsible for the waste that they're putting out as well.
Yes, 100%. So the city, we take every precaution to maximize this resource. We do the proper studies to get the information, to make the appropriate decisions, to maximize the capacity and maximize the space and maximize our services at this facility. What we're asking for our residents to do is simply to help us in extending the life of this resource beyond the 10 to 15 years roughly that we have. The potential is there to potentially add another 5 to 10 years, which would give us an additional 5 to 10 years to come up with other diversion techniques, other disposal options, and really other options for us to get rid of our waste that aren't going to, for lack of a better term, break the bank for us taxpayers.
I know when you say other options, a lot of residents are going to say, oh, composting, that sounds nice. But we're not ready to make any announcements on that front yet, I don't think. We do want residents to know that if they need help with that transition from 6 bags to 4 bags to 2 bags, that they can reach out to your department and they can get some help from you guys.
And that's always encouraged. What we're doing is we're trying to set up a one-on-one meeting, so somebody from our department will actually come and meet you at your house at your convenience, talk about what the challenges that you're having, or if you think that you'll have a challenge going into the future once we kind of start to enforce that 4 to 2 bag limit, and we'll help you. We'll, you know, if there's any incentives that could be developed, well, we need to talk to residents that are having issues or will have issues making that limit to be able to develop these incentives. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to gather as much information to be able to develop programs and incentives for the families who truly need assistance.
So this will be an ongoing conversation for many years, I'm sure. Yes. If someone does need assistance like we talked about, they can email at wm@cornwall.ca or they can call 613-937-1777. Thanks so much for chatting with me, Dave.
Well, thanks for coming out.
I'm here with Tommy Sauvé, who you probably know as the safety guy. His official title is Training, Operations, and Safety Supervisor. We're going to talk about winter parking on the sidewalks in the wintertime, winter safety, all sorts of things with Tommy today. So Tommy, winter parking restrictions, they've started November 15th to December 14th. We ask people not to park on the road or in municipal parking lots if there's a forecast of 5 centimeters or more, forecasted by Environment Canada, overnight. Why do we ask people to do that?
it impedes on plow operations. If we have cars parked all over the road, it's almost not near impossible, but it does make it impossible for our plows to go down certain areas, and we can't do many of the roads because of the street parking. So we enforce the streets parking bylaw after 1 a.m. in hopes to deter all the vehicles to come off the road so that we can get in the neighborhoods and properly plow the roads.
Every year we kind of announce that the restrictions are coming into place, and every year I get the question, why do we do this? Is this common? How common is it for municipalities to have winter parking restrictions?
So every municipality in Ontario have winter parking restrictions. It's common, it's very common.
So December 15th, we're going to move into phase 2 of winter parking restrictions. Can you
Correct.
explain what those are?
So phase 2 is when there's phase 2, sorry, is a permanent winter parking restriction through until, I believe, April 15th. And all vehicles have to be off the road regardless of the amount of snowfall.
So there could be no snow in the forecast, and
That's
we're
correct.
still keeping the cars
Correct.
off the road.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about snow clearing operations in the city in the wintertime? How big of an operation is it? How seriously do plow operators take their job of keeping the roads safe during the winter?
So being a plow operator is very dangerous. There's a lot of factors that are in play. It's not just driving the truck. There's many blind spots. The drivers are by themselves. Snow conditions create blinding conditions. You've got vehicle traffic, pedestrian traffic, nighttime driving, poor visibility, freezing rain, more snow. So they take it serious.
And there's a lot there, but there's actually some stuff that residents can do when they're driving to help make sure that our plow operators are safe during the wintertime.
So when you see a plow operator, stay back or stay clear. Don't pass on the passenger side where the wing is down. That's a high blind spot for the drivers, all our operators. And we want them as safe as possible. Stay back, stay clear, allow them to do their job. Don't push, don't honk at them. Let them do their job.
A lot of times the questions I get are, when is my street going to be cleared? Why have I seen this street be cleared more than once before my street is cleared? Can you talk about some of the reasoning around what streets are cleared first?
So the City of Cornwall follows the provincial standards, which is the minimum maintenance standards. Now, we always hear, well, it's the minimum maintenance standards. I can assure you that the city does better than the minimum maintenance standards. We always have to maintain our we call them class 1s. That's the major arteries, the main arteries within the city first. And we'll go through those until we feel we're ready to go into our residential areas, which is our class 2s. We get asked, or I get asked a lot, why is my street not done? Again, that's part of the parking restrictions. During the day, vehicles in residential areas tend to park on the road. And many of the residential areas or streets, they're not wide enough to accommodate parking on both sides, parking on one side with the plow, the wing. And that's why we tend to go into our class 2s through the evening, through the night. It doesn't say that we won't go into our class 2s during a major storm. We'll attempt to clear a pass, but our major arteries are priority for emergency responders, police, fire, paramedics. People need to get to work, get out of the city, come into the city. So that's our priority, is our main one, our class 1s, then our class 2s. But we do our best to maintain both. We just have to maintain with our class 1s first.
At the same time, you're not just clearing roads, there's also sidewalk clearing that goes on at the same time. We're standing next to one of the city's newest sidewalk plows. Can you talk about some of the decisions that go into how sidewalks are cleared and why sometimes it takes longer than residents might expect to get on the sidewalks?
Again, the minimum maintenance state, when there's a snowfall of 8 centimeters or greater, we have to start clearing our sidewalks. We'll start treating our sidewalks before that. We get asked all the time, why is a class 1 or why is a road cleared faster than the sidewalks? Trucks go about 35 kilometers an hour, and when these are on the sidewalk with their blowers down, they're only going about 6 to 7 kilometers an hour. We have almost 300 kilometers of sidewalk to maintain. So it's a long process to clear a sidewalk. It's a difficult process to clear a sidewalk.
But super important, right, to make sure that people can still get to where they need to go.
Very important, yes.
One of the issues that we encounter in the wintertime often is residents are parking their cars on the sidewalk.
Correct.
Talk a little bit about that.
So when a vehicle is parked over the sidewalk, it impedes the operator from properly clearing the sidewalk. So when he or she comes up to the vehicle that's parked, we usually have to scoot around onto the road. It's probably the distance of about 3 homes that does not get cleared. So they will continue on, call it in that there's a vehicle parked over the sidewalk. and they carry on. And the issue with that is now we have to go back at a later time in the day to clear that, and it's time and resources now that's kicking in. So.
I mean, it's also an accessibility issue, right?
Accessibility.
We want people to be able to walk on all sidewalks or
Correct.
wheel themselves or stroll their strollers
Yes,
around the sidewalks.
it's harder in the winter with conditions, but we still have to maintain the sidewalks as part of the provincial standards.
Any other safety tips you want residents to be aware of as winter weather starts to fall on Cornwall?
Safety tips, if it's a snowstorm and you know it's coming, plan your route or plan your day, leave early, drive to the road conditions, slow down. Again, don't pass snow plows or hitch onto a sidewalk machine as you're driving down, as you see them driving down the sidewalk, and stay back, stay clear, and be mindful that we're out there.
Excellent. So as we are in phase 1 of winter parking restrictions, the best way to find out if you can park on the street overnight or not is by visiting the city's website and the city's Facebook page. You can also call Municipal Works 613-932-5354, and we'll try to make that information as accessible as we can. And then starting December 15th, there's no on-street parking overnight. Thanks so much for your time, Tommy.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed episode 5 of Street Level. Please give us your feedback at cornwall.ca or through all of our social media. And at this particular time of the year, I hope that all of you stay connected. And if you want ideas about that, please check out our website at cornwall.ca/connected. Merci.